This week's channel message from the angels is a powerful one about what you can do to be the way shower in this great shift in consciousness. So, welcome back to my channel, you guys. It is wonderful to have you here with me, especially to hold the energy on this one. And for those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Ann Tucker. I'm a trance channel. I channel from the angelic realm, and I do that by raising my awareness up as high as I can go. I go a little higher, I connect, and I bring through healing and messages from the angelic realm. I do that from a deep meditative state where I go into trance before I raise my awareness up. And I tip my process as I channel the message. They speak through me. So they come in and they speak through my vocal cords. I channel usually the day before, and I use dictation software. And then that message, I then go through and put in the punctuation and the paragraphs to make it easier to read. And then we break it down here. I share it, and we break it down here in our time together. So this week's message is like I said, it is a powerful one. This is when they are not pulling any punches, where they're talking about and really tying together many of the topics that they've been talking with us about over the last couple of years, about the separation that we have inside of us and how that creates a separation between our head and our heart, about how we have many selves inside of us. And those many different selves are like stuffed into little separate jars. And that separation inside of us is from the past, from many lives that we've had. It creates a separation between our head and our heart, that we are living in our head, we're not living through our heart. And so this message is kind of trying to get us into the space where we learn to live through our heart, that we are anticipating in the shift of consciousness that there is equality or balance between our head and our heart, and that we learn to navigate through the heart, and the head supports the heart. And so it's a beautiful message. But then they talk about that the thing we need to do to get to the space where we can be the way showers, where we can step into that energy now, is to surrender to all the parts of ourself, connecting to our heart, and then also surrendering all of the knowledge, surrendering all of the sort of cultural things, the ways that we've been told, our expectations, the way we've been told a good life is meant to be led, to become open to seeing things in a new way. And so there's a lot to this message. I know you guys are going to love it. So, and it's a poetic one too. Absolutely beautiful. There's going to be phases in here I'm definitely going to pull out as good quotes to share with you guys later. So for those of you who are peace bathing, don't forget we have our peace bathing is this Sunday. So don't forget to join us, peace bathing 10 a.m. on Sunday. If you would like to join us, if you do not yet have your own regular healing practice, and you would like to join us for peace bathing, you are absolutely welcome. You can sign up on my website, anntucker.com. Peace bathing is a monthly healing program where we get together and the angels lead us through a healing process that is designed to help us keep pace with the energies that are changing around us, with the great shift that we are going through. They help us to keep pace with where we are right now. So, and then people use that, we do the meditation together, and then you use that for the remainder of the month until the next month when we do it again. So if you'd like to join, it's this Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific, and it's on my website. I will put the link here and down below in the description box. All right, you guys, enjoy the message. So let's go ahead and dig in. If you guys are ready, here it is. They say, beings of light, we find it necessary to begin speaking of these remembrances of another time before this, of things that separate you now and endure from before. These are separations of the mind and heart. An embattled visage, you appear as one who contains both horizons in equality, but cannot now navigate the pathway forward and in between. We herald a time of knowledge for which you are prepared, but know nothing of. A time of self contained within a human body, but within the acceptance of all that is self. Within the construct of self as whole and complete, where the heart is known and the self is absolved from all that is karmic and the undesirable in the lengthening of the days of self-judgment. We wish to align yourselves with the semblance of repetition which we can bring to halt your understanding of the now moment of what you are, and drill into the form a shape of surrender, of then and what was before. Bring to yourselves a whole encounter with your greater aspect. We wish to abscond with the knowledge of what is now, with the shape of your own fire and fiery separation of the self that delves into division and contemplates the other. That is well worn as a pathway to separation. We wish to bridge that now with then and later, and to show yourself on the horizon, a peak to transform where you are now, to let you be the bridge for your people, to let you hold and harbor the equality now. The parameters of self are made and understood. The whole that you are can harbor the self equally, in equal measure, head and heart of equal share. The heart must be felt. The horizon of humanity has been limited to a piecemeal surrender to wholeness, into the encapsulation of lifetimes. Each aspect of self drawn into form only partially, taking on and heralding the full creation of what you are, but not as one, as many selves, as a disintegrated mention of each being you've become, all told as an assemblage of stories, but never made in one frame. The separation that comes between you and all that you were, and all that you will become, is exemplified in the distancing that is measured between the being of love and the being of intelligence within you. The separating forces that you bear, the equality cannot be revealed when the perspective of what is offered is held as truthful. When one who comes into the shape and form of this space is born into a knowledge of humanity that exemplifies itself upon your plate for eating, to take on and imbibe the fullness of truth as it would be doled out, as it would be made by those who surrender before you to knowledge, the heart diminished, the heart unequal, the heart forgotten. In these times for which you are made, the vehicle of your transport being the frame of your physicality, these embryonic forms, minuscule though they may be, can be stirred into presence, can be brought to life again, can be brought back from the brink of the heavens and asked and cajoled back into form. In informing yourself with the new knowledge of your own grace, you can then bring wholeness to the many parts that you are, to the all that separates you now, to the many beings you contain, all of which know each other not, who hold themselves jarred apart, like beings who are brethren, never to become solidly felt by one another, not touching, not feeling, only surrendered in their own heart to the experience of being equal when all else is absent. Thus, separating forces are amplified, and their hearts are measured in the teardrops of lack and nothing. We say you are brought to the forefront, the precipice of the new beginning. The heart comes from its shadow and claims your light and asks yourself to be the bridge for all who come later. Asks yourself to rise into the time frame of now and surrender your heart into the fold of acceptance. To be the brightness, the starlight, the unencumbered love of self that radiates from inside, that gathers you up in wholeness, that includes the surrender to all beings you've been, to all ways you've shined, to be that self who comes in the time of surrender to self. The great ascension, the core of your wholeness, evolves into a form that bridges both the heart and the head, balanced equally in loving presence with the self, where all that you are is held in acceptance. How, you might ask, how am I to be the bridge? How am I in lack or shadow? What is missing? What must I do? How must I form myself differently? We say that imbalance, lack, and suffering are intertwined most deeply into the nature of what it is to be human. There, ensconced in the legends that are told, in the shape, the full helping of privilege which you've been given, the plate full of knowledge you've been taught, to surrender this to the all and every. To make the self a blank slate of acceptance of what will be and become. To give up the handhold of the wisdom of your elders. To give up what is told to the self about what is proper. And postpone your entry into the ways that are laid by those who came before. Accept the mission of one who travels differently, of one who speaks and forges with their words a pathway that is new and unknown. Think of the self not as a being who lays upon the road once traveled before, but as one who encumbers themselves as the way shower, the way maker. Be unabashedly whole in the encounter of what is soul and self in the process. Be that self who rises to bridge the head and the heart for all to follow. Yeah, right? I told you this, guys. This is like, I love this message. It's got so much power in it. There's parts when I was reading it this morning and going through it, I just kept stopping, interrupting Jeff and being like, you got to hear this part. You got to hear this part. Because this is a mind blower in my book for sure. And you guys are joining in. More of you have joined in. Hello, you guys. So good to see you guys. And let's see, we go back to where I dropped off. You're saying huge shifts already and continue from Soul Convergence. That is so awesome. I love that you are still feeling that moving through you. That is so awesome. Yeah, so Yaz just finished our Soul Convergence program and from the last round. And Andrea said, good morning from Chile, Anchorage. Hello, cannot wait to see you in a few weeks. Yes, at the retreat. Rebecca, hey, Rebecca, happy Friday live. Dang, time zone bingo. I didn't realize your timing was an hour earlier than Europe and daylight savings. Oh, yeah. Good morning, John from New Zealand. Great to have you with us. Yes, it feels so loving and supportive. Oh, that is awesome. To bridge the head and the heart. Yes. And it feels like we are closer. Hello, says Laura. Hello. Yeah, for sure. So, okay, so let's go ahead and break this down and talk about it. Because I feel like this message, like I said, I love this message. And they do give us incredibly clear guidance about what to do. And they're telling us, like, as clear as they can. They've been laying the groundwork for this message for a long time, right? They've been talking about the fact that we're moving into a space where we release our karma. They've been talking to us about needing to be in a space of allowing, about not having expectations, about being ready to release our attachment to the way things have been, right? They're laying all the groundwork to try to get us to this place where it's like, how do you be in a way that we've never been before? How do we be this new way of being? And here, I think they're taking all these lessons they've been trying to share with us about how things are going to change, how it's going to affect us, and and try to open our perception so that we're ready to see it, to be it, to feel it as it comes, right? As the energies around us rise and as the flash of light comes, how do we step into it? What behaviors do we need to do differently? And it's an important question to ask, because we can get so locked into, like, think about when you drive home, how present are you? How much of your drive home is where you are on automatic? Like, do you ever get there and realize that you were not even paying attention? Like, especially like driving home late at night when you're kind of tired and you realize you pull into the driveway and you're like, whoa, I didn't even pay attention. Like, I remember the last time I moved and for the longest time, it happens every time I move. I will be driving home and I keep driving to the old house, because I'm on this old pattern of like, this is how you drive. This is where we go. Like the brain, the thinking brain is not present. And so if that's true about driving, like that's true about everything in our life. Like when you brush your teeth, like when you make your coffee, when you do, all the things that we do on autopilot. So they are trying to interrupt that. They're trying to say, okay, you do like what percentage of our life do we do on autopilot? And if it's 30%, how much? Like, how much do we really, if you really think about your life, how often do we do things that we've never done before, where we don't know where things are, where, like when you go somewhere, like say, for example, you go to a particular restaurant or to a mall, do you always park in the same place? Do you always park on the same level or in the same spot? Like how much of our life do we really, is a brand new thing in any one day? And so all that routine, all those systems that we've built for ourselves to make life easier, they have to break through all of that to try to get us to wake up and see the energies that are changing around us. So I think that's what this is about. I think it is. But more than that, it's about, yes, they want us to open up and to let go of expectation and to be in a state of like wonder, of newness to the now moment, while also integrating everything we've ever been. So this message is really about balancing the head and the heart by accepting all of our past lives. And they're describing our past lives, and they're saying that our past lives have been, that they live inside of us. And the visual that they gave me was that it's like each one is in its own separate little jar. Like I got like these canning jars on a shelf, like they're all on the shelf, but they're separated into little jars. You know, like sort of like how the Egyptians used to embalm people and take out all their organs and put each organ in a separate jar. So you have a whole person, but the person is no longer integrated. And like, that's what we are on the inside. And so they're trying to get us to a place where we are integrated, where all those parts of ourself are integrated into the whole, which is how they're saying in this message, like, wow moment, that's how we unify, create equality between the heart and the head. So let's break down the message piece by piece. And so they say, they start out beings of light. We find it necessary to begin speaking of these remembrances of another time before this, of things that separate you now and endure from before. So that's what they're saying. The things that separate us now, that keep us in our karma, that keep us in division internally, where we have all these past selves that are not integrated. So that is, they're defining that as our karma, past selves that have not been accepted. Right? Which is a perfect definition. Like past selves we have not yet accepted. That's our karma. Because those are the things we are in judgment of. So we keep them separated, right? It all ties together. Like I said, they've been laying the foundations. So the things that separate us now and endure from before. So all of our past selves that keep us separated from ourselves and from one another. All right. So that's what the message is about. They go on to say, these are separations of the mind and heart. So they're laying it out very clearly. So those aspects of ourself within us that we are separated from, all the ways which we divide ourselves internally, are the result of that is a separation between our head and our heart. And then they say, an embattled visage, you appear as one who contains both horizons in equality, but cannot now navigate the pathway forward and in between. So I love this sentence. So an embattled visage, a visage is like an appearance or a face. It's like, what's on the surface? Who are we on the surface? So we have on the surface, we look like someone who is in a fight with ourselves, right? We are drowning in our karma on the surface. We are in a fight with ourselves, embattled, right? But we appear like they see us as someone who contains both horizons, both the head and the heart in equality. So they see us as we've got both powers, both superpowers. We have them. They say, but we cannot now navigate the pathway forward. So we don't know where to go from here and in between. We can't navigate the pathway between the head and the heart or how to get forward from here. So a lot said in that one paragraph. Yeah. All right. So this is, to me, this is a really interesting new concept, this idea that our karma, our past lives, we have not integrated the ways that is our judgment, that is our karma, like the separation inside of us is the way we judge ourselves, our past selves, which is our karma. And that then creates the separation of head and heart, right? So that's to me, that's the important threads and the dots that they've been giving us each dot. Now they're making the connection between the dots. Yeah. All right. So then they go on to say, we herald a time of knowledge for which you are prepared, but know nothing of. Yeah. And so knowledge here, they mean knowledge of ourselves and knowledge of how to be with one another. It's that unity that we're trying to get to, knowledge at the conscious, super conscious level that we are prepared for, but know nothing of. A time of self contained within a human body, but within the acceptance of all that is self, within the construct of self as whole and complete, where heart is known and the self, and this is big, the self is absolved from all that is karmic and undesirable in the lengthening of the days of self-judgment. So they're saying that this is what we're trying to move to. This is what the shift in consciousness is all about. It is about that we are still ourselves. We are still in a human body. that's contained within a human body, but within the acceptance of all that is self. So all of those past selves, which we're keeping in neat little jars inside of us, separated, right? That those are all accepted and blended into one, right? Within the construct of self as whole and complete, where heart is known. So we're no longer separated from our heart, right? And the self is absolved from all that is karmic. So that karma is what separates us. So once we integrate all that self, that de facto means that we are healed from karma, the concept of karma, which is the judgment that forms the jars that keep us separated, the places that we are in resistance to, that we don't want to make part of ourselves, right? So then they say, and undesirable in the lengthening of the days of self-judgment. So this is like that they're referring to karma as self-judgment, and and it lengthens the days. It makes the days long, right? It makes the days hard. Karma does. We know that. I know you guys, we all know that. All right, next paragraph. They say, we wish to align yourselves with the semblance of repetition, which we can bring to halt your understanding for the now moment of what you are. So they're saying in this message, it's almost like they're saying, we want to give you a shortcut, that you are in repetition, right? But the semblance of repetition is like the appearance of repetition. So repetition of what? Of our karma. The school of life is about taking these past things we haven't figured out yet about ourselves, the things that we don't want to face, and reliving them over and over and over again. That's what we do. That is the school of life. It is, I have this piece of myself I'm keeping in a jar that I don't really want to look at. And that is then going to play out in life in front of me. And I'm going to repeat it. I'm going to repeat that same lesson. And until I get it, until I'm willing to accept and love what's in that jar, it's just going to keep playing out over and over. And it's the school of repetition. So they're saying that we're going to align us with the semblance of repetition. So they're going to be like, you're going to get the benefit of living it over and over and over again. They say, which they can bring us to halt our understanding for the now moment of what you are. So by that, they mean when we go through this confrontation, when we're living in the earth school and we're seeing ourselves play out in front of us, the goal is to halt our understanding of who we are, to give us a pause, to be like, oh my gosh, I see myself differently. I can't believe I've been doing that. I can't believe that I believe that about myself, or that that I saw it that way. That's those aha moments. That's halting us in our idea of that, we just roll through life thinking we got it all figured out. We all figured it out. And then boom, we confront ourselves. We're like, whoa, okay. Now I'm seeing my truth. I'm seeing I'm seeing at least this one jar about who I am. Right. And they say, so here they're saying they're going to align us with that experience, with something similar to that experience, to halt our understanding for the now moment, right? To give us that feeling of awakening, that feeling of aha, right? And drill into form a shape of surrender of then and what was before. So this idea, what they're trying to do with this message is and I like the idea that they use the word drill, because you know how angels like to use words that have many meanings, to drill into form a shape of surrender. So a drill has two meanings. There is the drill of like drilling it, like, oh, we're gonna like a power tool, right? We're gonna use power tools on you. We're coming at this with full force, power tools to help you, to bring this to your awareness. And at the same time, a drill is a repetitive exercise, like doing drills, right? So that's karma. Karma is a drill. It's a repetitive exercise where we encounter ourselves. So they're using that word in two ways here. So they are bringing us the semblance of that repetition in this message, trying to just give us that aha moment in one go, in working with us and helping guide us. And it's not just in this message. I think this is referring to the flash of light that's coming, like all the energies that are here to help us. It's all here to give us the semblance of repetition, to give us the super speed, rapid understanding of self, right? And drill into form a shape of surrender. So they've been telling us over and over and over about the importance of surrender. And that is surrender to ourselves, to all the pieces of ourself that we are in resistance to. It is this makes way more sense to me that now I'm on round 2 of doing Soul Convergence and my Soul Convergence healing program. And it is all about this. It's all about taking all these aspects of ourself and integrating them and bringing them into the present and loving. It's not taking them out and throwing them away. It's bringing them in and loving them. And that's what they're saying we need to do, is surrender to, yeah, that's me. That part of myself that I wish didn't exist. I love it now. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to take it in and say, yeah, that's me. Those mistakes that I made. Yeah, that was me. And I love myself in that moment that I made those mistakes. I understand it, to be compassionate to ourselves, to understand that at every moment, the choices we make come from a whole huge experience of living, right? That they're built. Our choices are built by the experiences that we have, by the pains that we've suffered, by the ways we've been conditioned, by our programming, by our own self-judgment, which we then play out in front of us. So it's about forgiving and loving and being compassionate and bringing that in. And yeah. So, and Aaron says there's a beautiful part in the hypnosis I do where the past life spirit enters the heart. This reminds me of this moment integrating the wisdom of the past into now's consciousness. Yes, totally. Absolutely. Yeah. So they're saying they're trying to give us to drill into form a shape of surrender, surrendering to all these past selves. They say surrender of then and what was before, right? Bring to yourselves a whole encounter with your greater aspect. So, and that is that then by doing that, we then connect to our higher self. When we integrate all those past selves, it's almost like it aligns the chakras, activates your upper chakras and connects. So it's an energetic thing, but we experience it as reality. Yeah. All right. Next paragraph. They say, we wish to abscond with the knowledge of what is now. And I love that because the word abscond is like to steal it, to take it away. Like I see it's like they give me this visual of angels like sneaking in and grabbing our knowledge and sneaking away with it. Like, they're going to sneak it away, to abscond with the knowledge of what is now, with the shape of your own fire and fiery separation of the self that delves into division and contemplates the other. That is what is well worn as a pathway to separation. They are just so dang poetic. They blow my mind every time. With the shape of your own fire and fiery separation of the self that delves into division and contemplates the other. So this is the ways in which we are dug in. Like think about when they say the fire and fiery separation, think about the things that really tick you off. Where you are, and it's like, think about things, don't think about it as something about yourself. Think about it as something in the world. Which of our presidential candidates makes you most angry? Or is it both? You know what I mean? Like, what is it that's happening in the world that really makes you mad? When you go out into the world and you see this happen, you get angry. Like, what is that? Is it when, like, what about like if somebody leaves a dog in the car? Like, does that make you mad? Like, what if you see people arguing? Like, does that, if you have to walk past people that are arguing, does that trigger you? Like, where are your triggers? And that is where we are in separation. When we have that judgment rise up, right? Whatever it is, whatever that is, it's judgment. And so they're saying, that is our fiery separation, right? And from the self that delves into division and contemplates the other. So when we see that outside, recognize that everything in our reality is showing us a part of ourself. And you may not be that thing that you're looking at, but you are one piece of that equation. There is something, if you had to put into words what it is you don't like about that person or about that thing that is happening, some piece of that equation lives in yourself. You are either the giver or the receiver of that experience in some way. So in other words, if you are judging someone for being, for example, out of their integrity, right? For telling lies, there is some part of you that is fearful of being out of integrity, or there may be places where you are out of integrity, which you're aware of and you wish you weren't. There may be some place where you're living a life that doesn't feel true to you. So it's reflecting that outside. And when you're angry at that person, you're really angry at yourself, and it creates increasing division where that part of you is put tighter and tighter into the jar, right? You're like, I don't like you. Don't come out. Right. And we're just seeing it. It's just a reflection of who we are. So in that, the more we don't like it, the more fiery it is. It's a fiery separation, right? We are dug in on that of the self that delves into division and contemplates the other. So we are like, yeah, we're really feeling like they are not like us. Like, I don't like that person. I don't like that thing that's happening. So we really delve into division, and then we contemplate them and we say, they are wrong. They are so wrong. And that's where we are. And they say that is well worn as a pathway to separation. All right. Then they go on next paragraph. They say, we wish to bridge that now with then and later. So cool. We wish to bridge that now, the experience that I just described, with then the old selves that you are, and later the self that you're going to become. and to show yourself on the horizon a peak to transform where you are now. And again, they are so stinking clever. A peak is a peak, a mountain peak. So they show me this as they're talking. I remember them saying this, showing me the horizon with a little tiny peak of a mountain sticking up. So it's a peak and you can just peek at it, right? It's a peak that you can peek at. It's both peak and peak at the peak. So, and to show yourself. So you're peeking at yourself, that little tiny bit of the mountain that you can see. So we wish to bridge the now. We wish to bridge that experience with the now, with then, the things that you came before, and with a taste of who you will become, to peek at that peak of you that's on the horizon. In order to transform you, to let you be the bridge for your people, to let you hold and harbor the equality now. And that equality is the connection between the head and the heart, where the head and the heart are held as equal, rather than what our society has been for the longest time, for the whole, like really, through the last 2,000 years, where the emphasis, and increasingly the emphasis, has been on the head, where the heart is thought of as being, irrational and not as valuable. It's just emotions. It's just, you know what I mean? It's like, rather than being the heart that is meant to guide us, the heart is meant to be the leader. That it is the thing that's supposed to show us the way. And so the heart has to come first. And then the head is meant to just be a support, right? The head is meant to come in behind, equally important, but the heart has to come first. And we have put the heart into this purgatory, right? Where it's all about the science, and it's all about the data, and it's all about the technology, and it's that's what we value. STEM is important. Art is not important. STEM is important, right? STEM being like science, technology, and mathematics. What does the E stand for? Anyways, but you get my point. Let's see, and you guys are saying, let me go in, and Patty says, wow, I may repeat Soul Convergence, so many layers. Yeah, there really, it is like, there's always more for us to grow, but it does surprise me with Soul Convergence. And I'm sorry for those of you who did the first one that I wasn't clear that the second one, they did give us that message saying it was going to be different. And I know I shared that with you guys, but I didn't realize how different it is. And it really is. It's like the two fit together. Yeah. So yeah, definitely worth doing again, doing the second one. And Patty says, yes, I'm doing the second round now, and I'm finding all new levels after having done the first round. Definitely worth doing. I'll probably do the next one too. Awesome, Andrea. Yeah, I'm excited for the summer for sure. Thanks. And then so many deep grooves of habit to integrate. To be aware is the first step. Now to go deeper for sure. Engineering is the E in, thank you, thank you, Edie. She said in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Yeah, exactly. And by the way, for those of you, somebody just emailed me the other day and said she really wanted to be part of the summer program, Soul Convergence, which is going to be about integrating your, connecting to your gifts, about expressing your gifts and using your spiritual gifts. But you have to go through you have to go through the first part of Soul Convergence before you can do the summer program, because they build a reservoir of energy in that program that you use to connect to your gifts in what's coming in the summer program. So what I think I'm going to do is maybe, because I can't run a whole other program before the summer, but I think what I will do for anybody who would like it is make the recordings available, and you would still I could still arrange it where you could still have access with the dream analysis and everything else like that, but you could work through with the recordings. I have several people that are doing it right now who are, because they signed up and then they couldn't start. So they ended up doing it asynchronously. They ended up doing just the recordings. And it's working like hot darn. Like there's no issues with doing it that way. So for those of you who really want to be part of the summer program, I will make a link. I will figure this out and make a link so we can do that. Cause I think I am so incredibly moved by what I'm seeing happen. And I want to make sure that if you want to be part of that, especially what's coming, if you want to be part in time for the summer, I want to make sure you have that opportunity. So I will figure that out, and I will put a link in here in Facebook as well as in YouTube in the description box for how you can find out more about that. Okay. All right. And then Karen says, does fear live in the head or the heart? How do you know if fear is legit? Your instincts or false, not real, if that makes sense? Yes. Great question, Karen. I love that question because yes, fear is in the head, 100% in the head. So a lot of times we think we're making decisions with our heart because we feel fear about something, and it's not. That is our head. The reason we feel fear is because we are looking at something and reflecting on our wounding, and we're assuming it's going to turn out the same way, right? So that is our internal process of putting it through the filter of our karma, of our experiences that we are in judgment of, and saying, oh gosh, if I go down that path, I'm not going to be supported. Things are going to go wrong. I'm going to get wounded. I'm going to get hurt. All the things that have happened before. So that fear is in the head. And even in like science, they would say that it's in like the amygdala or whatever. It's like our fear center, So it's 100% in the head. And when you are in the heart, the heart discerns truth. The heart discerns faith. And the heart discerns love and joy. And so what you do when you're leading with the heart is you don't turn away from fear, you turn towards joy. And so if you feel fear about something, recognize you're in your head. And if you try to say, for example, you're deciding about whether or not you're going to do something that's really scary for you, but you really want to do it. Like, for example, come out as a healer. You want to be a healer and you're like, okay, that sounds amazing. I would love to do that. But I'm really afraid what people will think of me. I'm really afraid that I won't make any money. I'm really afraid that right? And so you think, okay, I'm listening to my heart. My heart says fear. It must be wrong. I must not be doing that. And maybe it's not the right path for me. Maybe I'm not supposed to because I'm not feeling it. When I think about that, all I feel is fear. And so what you got to do is go into that fear and say, okay, fear, where do you come from? Where is that past self of me? Where is that stuffed in a jar somewhere inside me where I have fear, where I feel unsupported? Where is it in the past that I was unsupported? Because the fear comes from somewhere, so it's valid. The fear is valid, right? It comes from a place where you were unsupported. So then you got to go back to that past self and love that self who felt unsupported and give that self support. Be the support for that self. And once you can deal with the fear, then come back. And what you'll see is just the joy of like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. Yeah, I want to go do that thing. I want to really embrace that thing, and your heart will point you to it. So the fear, 100%. And that is such a great, because we think all emotions are from the heart, and the heart does feel everything. But as a guide, what the heart is, think of the heart as a being, right? And when the heart is guiding us, the fear is coming from those past experiences filtered through the head. But the fear is what we think about what the heart wants. How about that? Ooh. Yeah, that was profound, huh? Maybe the angels were whispering in my ear right there. The fear is, which I don't even know if I can repeat that. The fear is what we think about what the heart wants. Yeah, I like that. I had to write that down. Okay. So, all right, where are we? Here we go. Oh, let me go back up. I missed a couple of your comments. Can we do it after doing our current Soul Convergence? Yes. So even if you've just been in one Soul Convergence, you can still do the summer program. Yes, for sure. Because you just need to have that reservoir of energy. That's the key in order to be able to do the second program, because that's the energy they're going to be working with. Yeah. All right. So let's go where they are now. So then they say, so they'll let us peak and to transform where you are now, to let you be the bridge for your people, to let you hold and harbor the equality now, that balance between the head and the heart. The parameters of self are made and understood. The whole that you are can harbor the self equally, in equal measure. Head and heart of equal share. Heart must be felt. So, and this is releasing this, the parameters of the self are made and understood. In other words, you are built to use both the head and the heart. Like you're meant to have a perfect balance between the two, like a balance of your masculine and feminine energy. You're meant to have a perfect balance, perfect flow between these two. Like use them as you need them, to not have anything interrupting that cycle or that flow. And that's how we're meant to be built, right? And then they say this, so that's the parameters. That's what we're meant to live. But say the whole that you are can harbor the self equally, in equal measure, head and heart of equal share, but the heart must be felt. Right now it's not. Going on, next paragraph. The horizons of humanity have been limited to a piecemeal surrender to wholeness, into the encapsulation of lifetimes. So piecemeal is like when you take things apart, like into little tiny pieces. So yourself, your whole self, your higher self is in all these separate little cells, right? Into wholeness, right? Or in terms of how you're experiencing them. The higher self has everything, but you as the individual, as the one that's living in this experience, has everything in piecemeal, right? And the encapsulation. So not only are they are they taken apart, but then they're separated from one another, encapsulated, right? Each aspect of self drawn into form only partially, taking on and heralding the full creation of what you are, but not as one. So it's literally like you have all of these parts of yourself in jars inside of you. And then imagine that you just take like a little teaspoon, like I'm going to take a little piece of this because I don't like the rest. The rest is not nice. I'm just going to take the part that I like and leave the rest and stuff it in the jar, right? So we get a little bit of this and a little bit of this. And then we say, this is all I'm going to be. I'm going to ignore the rest of who I am. Yeah. And then they say, as many selves, as a disintegrated mention. So like that little piece of each being you've become, all told as an assemblage of stories, but never made into one frame. So imagine it is like that it's like a short story, like a book of, like you are a book of short stories. Each life is a different story. And right now, all of them are in their separate little volumes, and we're trying to make it into one book where they flow, where each story relates to the next, and they're all connected through one narrative that understands the whole, right? That's what we're trying to get to. All right, the next paragraph. The separation that comes between you and all that you were and all that you will become is exemplified in the distancing that is measured between the being of love and the being of intelligence within you, right? So let me repeat that. The separation that comes between you and all you were and all that you will become. So in other words, that separation between the head and the heart, the separation into jars of all those pieces, is exemplified in the distancing that is measured between being in love and the being of love and the being of intelligence within you. So there's where they're drawing the connection. The more that we are separated in our many selves, the more that we have more separation we have between our head and our heart. Yeah. Super cool. Next paragraph. They say, the separating forces that you bear, the equality. So the grammar on this sentence is a little funky, so I'll read it, and then I'll explain it. But the separating forces that you bear, the equality cannot be revealed when the perspective of what is offered is held as truthful. So they're saying this is the weight that we bear when we come into humanity, when the veil drops. The weight that we bear, the separating force that we bear, is that we cannot see our equality. The equality cannot be revealed when the perspective of what is offered, in other words, when the current culture and the current wisdom and the current way of being is held as truthful, when our current reality is like, this is wisdom, right? That's what we're told. And then they say, when one who comes into the shape and form of this space, in other words, when you're born, when you come into a human body, you are born into a knowledge of humanity that empties itself upon your plate for eating. I love that. So, and they show me just like a dump, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, here's the, like yesterday's casserole, you know, have some. This is the knowledge of humanity. This is like, and this is our expectation of what it is to be human, of how we're supposed to live, of what's, you know, like think of all of the truths that we're told. I was just talking about this the other day with someone about like, okay, here is a truth that all of us have probably heard and probably even been guided by before. One of the truths that we've been taught is that you're not supposed to leave your current job until you have a new job lined up, right? That you'd be crazy. You'll be so much harder to hire if you leave your current job before you have a new job lined up. And that is the old truth. That's the old wisdom. But we are moving into a new reality where we're meant to be led by our heart. And in the new reality, the thing that is crazy about that is that since I've been working with the angels over and over and over again, they have told me that I cannot create my new reality until I give up my old one, because it's energy. And when I'm still putting energy towards the old thing, I don't have energy to create the new thing. So they told me, like, if I didn't leave my marriage, that I would never be able to fulfill my purpose. They've told me that if I didn't give up, you know, things that were like my main source of income, if I didn't give that up, then there wouldn't be space for me to create the next thing. So it's totally against the wisdom that we've been taught, which is don't give it up until, and that said, we are not there yet. We are not in the world where everything is energy and where we're able to create in this lovely way. So you still need a runway. Like, you still need to pay your bills. I get that, you know, and I even say to people who are like, they want to quit their job and they want to start down a spiritual path and they want to be a healer. They want to be a channel. They want, you know, They just need to build themselves a runway to help them get there. They need to free up some energy. The energy's got to come from somewhere. And I understand, like, so maybe you take a part-time job to get you there. You know what I mean? And doing maybe something that's not the perfect thing, but it's enough to give you the energy, the space while you're still covering your bills. So we got to think about it in a new way. We got to question all the old wisdom because it doesn't make sense in the new context. And that's what they're trying to say. The old wisdom has been like dumped on a plate. We've all eaten it up, right? It's been dumped on our plate for eating to take on and imbibe the fullness of truth as it would be doled out, as it would be made by those who surrender before you to knowledge, the heart diminished. So they're saying all this knowledge comes from all the humans before us in the past generations who surrendered their own hearts, who did not listen to their own heart. They surrendered to the intellect and they didn't listen to their heart. So it's all logic. It's all rational. And not that that isn't great, but it's not great unless it's balanced with the heart. Yeah. And then say the heart unequal, the heart forgotten. So that's where the knowledge comes from. All of our past wisdom comes from a place of imbalance is what they're saying. Yeah. All right. Next paragraph, they say, in these times for which you are made, the vehicle of your transport being the frame of your physicality. So in these times for which you are made, so we're built to be here right now. We're built differently in this life where we have access to all of our past lives in this life, which we did not before. In the past, we brought in aspects of certain lives that were important to the life that we planned. But other than that, the Akashic records were closed. That is not the case anymore. In this life, this is unique. We are built to hold all past lives in this life because this is meant to be a healing. This is the biggie, right? This is the moment, our last great experience of being able to move through all of our karma, right? So this is the time that we're meant to be doing this. We're built for this. They're saying our bodies are made differently. These times for which you are made, the vehicle of your transport being the frame of your physicality, the body, these embryonic forms. In other words, they're describing the heart as an embryonic form. Embryonic meaning that it is rudimentary in a rudimentary stage, but it has the potential for development. So that's how much our culture has been out of balance. They're describing that our reliance, our connection to our heart as being embryonic, as being rudimentary. So they're saying these embryonic forms, minuscule though they may be, can be stirred into presence, can be brought to life again, can be brought back from the brink of the heavens and asked and cajoled back into form. So this is our relationship to our heart, that we can bring our heart back, right? And I love that they say asked and cajoled. So it's a process that we have to go through to bring our heart back into balance with the head. It can be stirred into presence, right? So I think it's beautifully described. All right. And that's the opportunity that's available to us right now. All right. Then they go on to say, in informing yourself with the new knowledge of your own grace, you can then bring wholeness to the many parts that you are, to the all that separates you now, to the many beings you contain, all of which know each other not, who hold themselves jarred apart. There it is, in jars. They are, so this is a good one, jarred apart like beings who are brethren, never to become solidly felt by one another, not touching, not feeling, only surrendered in their own heart to the experience of being equal when all else is absent. So let's break that down. So, and there's a little bit more there. They say in informing yourself with the new knowledge of your own grace. So this as we come into our awakening, as we are waking up, they say that you can then bring wholeness. So when we wake up, we can bring wholeness to the many parts that we are, to the all that separates you now. So that is all the things, all that we've experienced that separates us, right? And that's all of those past wounds we've been talking about that separates us and makes us go into these little jars. To the many beings you contain, all the different cells that you contain, all of which know each other not, who hold themselves jarred apart. And jars is the little jars, but it is also jarring. Like to be jarred is to be discordant or out of harmony. So how perfect is that, right? So jarred apart, they're literally like, and the reason, so this is really think of when something is jarring, like, or when it's disharmonious or discordant, it's usually because of some kind of, like when you get in a car wreck, when two cars hit each other, it's jarring, it jars your body. It is showing that this is related to our wounding. The reason why we have ourselves in these little jars is because of our wounds, is what they're trying to say here. We are jarred apart and jarred, like each piece is a wounding, each individual section that we've jarred apart. All right. Like beings who are brethren, never to become solidly felt by one another, not touching, not feeling, only surrendered in their own heart to the experience of being equal when all else is absent. So that is right there. Think about that. You are equal only when everything else is absent. What that means is that there's nothing to be equal to, that it's a completely solitary experience, that there is no equality. There's just self. It is like that idea of so yeah, equal only when all else is absent. So there's no balance is what they're trying to say. Thus, separating forces are amplified and their hearts are measured in the teardrops of lack and nothing. Right? Like, wow. That one was, when I read that, I was like, oh, yeah. And it is, that's our karma, the teardrops of lack and nothing. So when we talk about like all of the discussion that was like, a decade ago, like, remember, you guys remember when, what is it? Why am I blank? The Secret, when The Secret came out and how everything was about abundance and manifestation and that was like such the conversation in spirituality and in spiritual circles, all about abundance. And that's important. Like the concept of manifestation is very important, but it's not about manifesting a Lamborghini. it's about manifesting our inner peace. And that then leads to abundance in whatever ways are meaningful to you, to having your needs met, right? To having everything that you need and everything that makes you feel comfortable and joyful and happy. And so the absence, right? Teardrops of lack and nothing. It doesn't come from, like, solving that doesn't come from learning how to manifest. It comes from healing. It comes from taking all those little parts of ourselves and healing them. And then the abundance is our birthright. The abundance is what we should have. It should come naturally. And it's just us that are standing in the way. And so it wouldn't matter. You could manifest, you could say affirmations till the cows come home. But if there's a part of you that is standing in the way saying you're not worthy, it's never going to come. So we gotta love ourselves first, and then the abundance that is our birthright, that we are not meant to be in lack and suffering, right? We are meant to be living in joy, and whatever that joy looks like to you. Like you may be like Thoreau and want to just like joy to you is living in a wood cabin in the woods with nothing, but what you scavenge off the land, and that is abundance to you, right? And that is awesome. Like, yay, do it. But you probably have to heal whatever's in the way before you can get there. Whatever thing that tells you it's not okay, that people are going to be judgmental, that you won't be able to do it. Like, what if you starve to death? Blah, blah, blah. Right? So, yeah. Yeah. So does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, you guys. And it is, thus the separating forces are amplified and their hearts are measured in the teardrops of lack and nothing. And I feel that they are trying to rattle our cage, but they're doing it with enormous compassion, that they're not using gentle words. They're using strong words, but you can feel in the teardrops of lack and nothing that they are sad when we suffer. The angels don't want us to suffer. Yeah. And they want more than anything for us to be able to heal ourselves and to live in this space of without karma, to move beyond our karma, to get to this new phase of being. They really want it for us. Yeah. Then they go on to say, we say, as you are brought to the forefront, the precipice of the new beginning, the heart comes from its shadow and claims your light and asks yourself to be the bridge for all who come later. Ask yourself to rise into the time frame of the now and surrender your heart into the fold of acceptance, to be the brightness, the starlight, the unencumbered love of self that radiates from the inside. So again, it's about surrendering. Surrender your heart to the fold of acceptance, surrendering to all the parts that are inside of you. A lot of it comes, and that the word surrender, it's like that. And I used to call it acknowledging, like we have to be acknowledged for our wound, for the pain, but it's beyond that. It's like we have to surrender to the pain. And I think I told you guys before, there was one time where a person put in the comments, so she was asking like about her husband who was in the hospital and asked the angels to heal him. And I just looked briefly and I saw through my third eye, I saw that there was an angel standing right next to him, but the angel was standing there and was unable to help him because he hadn't surrendered. He hadn't let the angel in. Right. And it is that idea that we have to surrender to ourselves, that we have to surrender to our healing, surrender. It's not enough to accept. It is, and to love. It's like we have to allow that the wounding happened in the first place, surrender to it. We have to feel it. And I know that's really, really hard because some of the wounds are, I know some of you carry, like, that's a thing with light workers. You guys do not choose an easy life when you get here. Light workers are ambitious. So you probably chose for yourself a really difficult circumstance, really difficult life. There may be things you're struggling with that feel or have felt overwhelming or overpowering in your life. And that is part of that is because that's your ambition as a soul, is to try to come in and do as much work as you possibly can, to try to heal as much as you can in this incredibly important phase of experience that we're in right now, where we have access to all of our past selves, where we have access to an infinite healing right now. And so the goal is to look at those really difficult wounds and to surrender to them, to surrender to the fact, yes, it happened. It was as bad as you remember, and you are loved. You're loved through it, right? That you can love that self that felt so wounded, and to be the self that then comforts with the compassion, that self that came through it, and to bring that into yourself. And it is the feeling at the end of it, I will tell you, like having integrated the parts of my life that were like the hardest parts of my life, what I feel like they no longer hurt, which is enormous. They no longer rule me. They know, like I can be in that experience or see that person again and it doesn't hurt, which is amazing. Like that is a freedom I cherish. But the feeling that I have at the end is not just like happy, happy, joy, joy. What I feel is depth. What I feel is like, almost like, imagine like somehow in the base of you just got 4 times as big. And what that does, so it creates this, it's almost like the gravity of what you accept creates more space inside of you. And then that depth can fill with light, right? That depth can become, there's more room for all of you because you've made space, you've accepted, you've increased your size, you've increased your capacity. And that is a capacity for love. And that's what they're talking about here when they say to be the brightness, the starlight, the unencumbered love of self that radiates from inside. So when we accept all those pieces, our hardest things, when we love them, and it doesn't mean you have to love the people that hurt you. Like the people who hurt me, I am in infinite gratitude to their higher selves for helping me on my journey. But I don't really like the people. Like the human counterpart, I'm like, I could do without that person. I don't really need to see that person again. But I am grateful. I'm in infinite gratitude to their higher self. And I see and I love their higher self. Yeah. So, and that higher self has just come down in one expression to create an experience for all of us, So you don't have to like, so it doesn't require that you get to a place where you're like, I love this person who hurt me. You don't have to get there. You just have to love the higher self. You have to accept and love the part of you that got wounded. Yeah. Okay. There's a lot in this message, you guys. All right. Where are we? We say, and then they go on to say, that gathers, where is it? To be the brightness, the starlight, the unencumbered love of self that radiates from inside, that gathers you up in wholeness, that includes the surrender to all beings you've been, to all ways you've shined, to be that self who comes in the time of surrender to self. This is the time. That's what they're saying. This is the time of surrender to self, the time that we are in right now. This is the time to do it. They say the great ascension, the core of your wholeness, evolves into a form that bridges both the head, the heart, and the head, balanced equally in loving presence with the self, where all that you are is held in acceptance. So they are defining what is the ascension, what is the shift. It is this. It is the core of your wholeness evolves into a form that bridges both the head, that balances the head and the heart equally in loving presence with the self, where all you are is held in acceptance. That's how we shift. That's how we ascend, is by loving ourselves, integrating ourselves, right? That's how we do it. That's how we forgive and release our karma. This is the path. Like, amazing. How, you might ask? How am I to be the bridge? How am I in lack or shadow? What is missing? What must I do? How must I form myself differently? So they're anticipating our questions. And they say, we say that imbalance, lack, and suffering are intertwined most deeply into the nature of what it is to be human. They're ensconced in the legends that are told, in the shape, the full helping of privilege which you've been given, the plate full of knowledge you've been taught, to surrender this to the all and the every. So there we go. They're saying, how do you do it? How do you get to that space where you can balance your head and your heart? It's to give over all of the scripts and the rules and the street smarts and all the stuff we've been taught. Like to see where we are stuck in our culture and where we're stuck in our expectations. This is why they keep saying, give up our expectations, right? We have to release all of that. It's so interesting what they say here. So they're ensconced in the legends that are told. So when we're told, like, think about that, about when people are admired for how they achieve and how they get things done. Are those coming from a space that honors the head and not the heart? So the legends that are told, in the shape, the full helping of privilege which you've been given. So privilege comes in so many forms, but they're describing our privilege as like the knowledge that we have. That is our privilege that we're given, is the knowledge that's passed down through generations, but they don't mean it as a privilege that we're meant to keep. It's something that might have been seen as a privilege, right? The privilege you've been given, the plate full of knowledge, they're referring back to the beginning when they described it, that the plate that was dumped on our plate that we're meant to eat is the culture, the wisdom, all the things that we've been told of how we're supposed to live, right? That the plate full of knowledge, that's our privilege that we've been given, the plate full of knowledge that you've been taught. And we're supposed to surrender this to the all and the every. So to question everything is what they're saying. Question all the things that we have thought, of all the rules we've been living by, of all the structures that we've held and cherished as necessary, to question everything. They're saying to make the self a blank slate of acceptance of what will be and become. And so think about that. Like a lot of people are going to be like, woo, if you're a blank slate, then you are going to be misled and you're going to be, what if you're taken advantage of because you're not being smart, right? You're not in your head. What we're trying to get to is a space where we are living through our heart, navigating through our heart, and the head is following and then helping us to make it happen. But what it looks like to live in the dharmic path, which is the way karmic, when we end our karmic, we are on the dharmic path. What it looks like is standing on the edge of a wave. Literally, you're standing right on the edge of a wave. And as that wave is cresting, and you're right, the wave is like a wave kind of hovers. It extends out before it crashes, right? So you're standing on the edge of that wave, and the world is kind of rising up to meet you as you go, but you don't plan. You're just there, and you are responding to the world as you meet it. And when you're on the dharmic path, it's like energy is flowing through you. You are the vehicle. You are the one who's embodied. It's your filter, so it's still you. You're still calling the shots, but it is energy that flows through you and then manifests out into your world in front of you. And you are, it's not about planning. It's not about forecasting and trying to anticipate and making sure you have your ducks in a row. It's about being in a state of complete flow. And this is so far from our experience of living until now that it is incredibly hard for us to understand what that even looks like. So I think this is, we keep talking about this. This is them trying to teach us like how to dance, talking about dancing. We're trying to talk about dancing right now, and we're going to get there because the flash of light is coming. The energies are hitting the planet right now. People are shifting faster and faster. We are going to get there. But when we get there, how will we know what to do? Like, what can we do now? And they're asking us, all of us, they're asking us to be the way showers, to lead others, to show them how to do it. And they're saying the way that we can get started, the practical steps that we can take, is to question everything. To question all of our knowledge, all of our ways of doing things, all of the truths that we have taken on as being obvious, as being, this is how you get along in the world. Like the truths about like the world is corrupt, or like people are this way, that people are going to serve themselves, all that, question it, like everything. They're saying that to give it over, right? Everything, the knowledge, the full helping of privilege we've been given, which is the knowledge that we've been taught, surrender this to the all and the every. And if we give that up, we move out of the head and into the heart. right? To make the self a blank slate of acceptance of what will be and become. And that doesn't mean that you're a blank slate of acceptance to whatever you're told by anybody, that you don't have discernment. The heart is the discerning function. The heart discerns because it feels the truth. Remember I said that the heart is truth, faith, love, right? The heart feels what is true. The heart, it's almost like when you know truth because you hear it and it's almost as if you knew it already. And that's truth. And so you're leading from the heart, and you don't need the head to confirm if it's true because the heart feels it. The heart knows it's true. And so you let the heart lead you. And so, because of that, you accept what's coming towards you and you work with it and you learn to respond to it and you live in the moment, right? And it's a very different experience. So, and it will completely redefine what is abundance, right? What is, this whole idea right now we have in life that keeps us really enslaved in a lot of ways to trying to prepare for a future that may never come. Everything's always put off until tomorrow. And we live a lot of our life just trying to prepare for a life that we might not ever get. And they're saying, yeah, that's not how it's supposed to be. Like, we're meant to be living on the edge of the wave, responding to our reality as it rises and letting it flow let life flow through us. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyways. So to give up the handhold of the wisdom of your elders, to give up what is told to the self about what is proper, and postpone your entry into the ways that are laid by those who came before. And then I love this paragraph. They say, accept the mission of one who travels differently, of one who speaks and forges with their words a pathway that is new and unknown. Think of the self not as a being who lays upon the road once traveled before, but as one who encumbers themselves as a wayshower, the way maker. Be unabashedly whole in the encounter of what is soul and self in the process. Be that self who rises to bridge the head and the heart for all to follow. So I feel like there's so much power in this message, you guys. I love this message. And they are calling on us to be the wayshowers and to live in a way that we really don't know how to do it, but we just have to bumble our way through. And the practical step they've given us is to question everything, to question all the limitations that we have been taught. Yeah. Gosh. And I feel like I need to sit with that for a while and to really maybe journal about it myself, about what does that mean to me? Like, what are my things where I'm living in a script or living in a truth that I was taught, Like, one of my big ones that I had to encounter already was this idea of don't give up what you got until you have a new thing lined up in terms of work and monetary, like in terms of my finances. And they pushed me on that one, and I had to learn to do it. I had to learn to jump, to leap into the void. And they've made me do it over and over and over and over again, or they've invited me to do it, I should say. So that was a big one that I had to release. But I know I've probably got more, and I need to spend some time with that and really think about that. Like, what are my platefuls of wisdom that I was given, my privilege that I was given, and how can I question it? Yeah, just amazing. Let me see what you guys are saying. So, oh boy. I know. I just my heart in this one. This is a lot of energy. It feels tiring, exhausting just to talk about it because I feel like there's just so much here, and I do feel the energy moving through me. And then let me go back here. So here we are. In my experiences, John, sometimes fear comes from the body with no prior thought or reason for feeling fear. People who suppress feelings often have stuffed fear bubble up much later in life. Sometimes you just need to sit in the fear and let it pass. I so agree. Dashini says, haha, in the new reality, I do not have a job. I have work to do, but no job. Yeah, I think that's a great way to describe it. Like, that's being led by your heart. Like, I work, but it certainly doesn't feel like a job. Like, I work harder than I think I ever have in what I do now. And it doesn't feel like a job at all. It's joyful. It's absolutely joyful. Yeah. And then you're saying it sure did about coming to life with high expectations for yourself and a hard upbringing or hard life. You're saying, yep, I am not sure if I have already forgiven myself for coming here with such high ambition. Yeah, if I understand that one. And let's see, Martha says, love that infinite gratitude to the higher self person who wounded you, but don't have to like the person. Yeah, I think it helps a lot, because I think the idea that we have to get to a place where we love, and like, you can love the higher self, and that is a form of love for the person, but liking someone and loving someone, that's different. You know what I mean? And you don't have to like everybody. Like, not everybody is gonna be someone that you want to spend time with. And that just is, but you can love their higher self and you can send them love, you know? So yeah. Mary Beth says, I don't like my ex. I told him I forgave him. He asked me if I was dying. That's awesome. Even though he did horrible things, he fathered my most wonderful children, and I can feel love for that, but I do not like the things he did. Yeah. And that is absolutely, I think that is a great perspective, is to look at the things and to see in that there was something in that you needed. There was a reason why you needed to go through that experience. And did he think about him as he's planning his life? Did he think about his life with you? Because you guys got married. This would have been and you had children, which means you would have planned that time together. It would have been decided upon before you got here. And do you think you guys were thinking about planning this life and he was like, you know what I want to do? I want to be the super jerk. I want to be the guy that comes in and does all these awful, rotten things. Like, nobody wants to be that. No one looks at their life and says, wow, it'd be so fun to come to earth and be a complete schmuck. Like, no one wants that. But he did it. And why did he do it? Why did his soul choose to do that for you? You know, because there was something in that helped you grow, that helped you become who you are today. And so he took one for the team. Like, he took it on the chin. He gets to come in and he has to look at himself in the mirror every day and know what he did. And he has to live with that, right? And that's part of his karma, and it's part of his experience and part of his growth. And his opportunity is to see that and learn to love himself and then learn to love others, right? That's his opportunity. So it's not like it's totally selfless, but the fact is he got the short straw on that draw. There's no question that he got the short straw. So yeah, and so that's how I see it. That's how I look at the people who wounded me, is I see that they definitely drew the short straw. It is harder to be the one that did the wounding. Yeah. So if they see themselves, that is. Yeah. And they will. They'll eventually see themselves one way or another. Maybe when they die, but they will see themselves. Yeah. Donna says, so much about balance, masculine, feminine, head and heart. Yeah, I totally agree. Mary says, does the balance of head and heart happen automatically in this new energy, dharmic path? I don't believe so, no, because we will be getting this wave of light. They're giving us so much help. Like, there's energy now on the planet, more energy than ever, right? And it's helping us. It's creating opportunity for us. It's like it's lighter. Imagine trying to push a boulder uphill and the boulder just gets lighter and lighter and lighter. Like, we're making progress where we didn't make progress before. And the wave of light will come, and that will help too. It help enormously. They say that's the moment we will look back on and say that's the moment that shifted everything. But I also know that there will be people throughout the rest of their life who have the opportunity to step into the light. It doesn't automatically transform everyone. So people have to be open to it. They have to be open to receive it. And if we are in rejection of ourselves, then we're not open to receive it. So it's a process. And they've also said that people will shift one at a time, that it's not even though this light comes, imagine it's like a great big helping hand that boosts all of us. But I don't think it's a thing that then every single person, it's still an individual journey. And we have the whole length of this life on earth that we get to experience it. And this is the last life that we get to do this. You will not be able to come back to earth another time and have another crack at the bat. You won't be able to come back and go through this karmic experience again. This is the end of it. And then anybody who reincarnates after that, they're going to be coming into the higher energy, and the earth is going to be different. It's a different kind of school going forward. So this is our last chance to integrate as much of ourself as we possibly can, to love as much of ourself as we possibly can. And then that we get to keep with us forever. And we get the whole rest of this life to do it. So it's a really wonderful, amazing time to be here. Yeah. So, and then people who do want to stay on the karmic path, it's not that they will have another choice. So there may be some souls that recognize that this way of learning, the karmic confrontation, where you confront ourselves, where we can't avoid it. For some people, that's still going to be the fastest way to learn. And there's no judgment in that. It's just, they are going to have that self-awareness to say, yeah, that's my ticket to growing as fast as I can. And for those people, there will be, the angels have said, there will be another place that they get after they die, however they die naturally on this experience of living. Then when they want to be reincarnated, they will reincarnate another place that's been created, which does have the 3D construct going on. But Earth is not going to be that way anymore. So that's what the angels have said, that coming here in the future, when we incarnate here, that we will be incarnating into, and we will have to, the only way we'll be able to incarnate is if we can hold the higher frequency, which makes sense because the Earth will be shifted. So we will have to match her energy going forward. Yeah. Which is really cool. So, Mary Beth, oh, there we go. Donna, and then Mary says, the balancing, oh, there we go. Next comment, Dashini says, for my part, I've always felt deep compassion for those who hurt me and probably always will. And that's just probably maybe part of your soul has learned that lesson. You know, it's awesome that you were able to bring that into this experience, Dashini, because that's a hard lesson for a lot of people to learn. And it's awesome. Diane says, such a profound message today. I feel it too. I really do. And I feel like it was profound and heavy hitting, like hard hitting, like they just went for it today. And I feel the energy moving through it is, you know, I don't know if you guys feel that, but I feel the depth of it. It's like, whoa. Diane says, my daughter and I are working together to try and heal our generational trauma so that it stops with us. Isn't that phenomenal? It's really hard to surrender to the painful things we've experienced, but I found that I'm so much lighter for having forgiven my abuser and thankful for all I've learned and grown from the experience. Thank you and angels for this message. It's so powerful. I'm so glad, Diane. And that is incredibly powerful to be healing that with your daughter. That is really, really cool. Dashini says, oh wait, I lost you. Hold on. Oh, just a moment. I lost the, where is this? Sorry. There we go. I also, for those who have been teaching me, I must think of them with deep compassion because they actually believe this stuff they were selling me as truth, calling it teaching, calling it school. Oh yeah. And there is, I mean, like you bring up an interesting point as we talk about being open and we talk about being a blank slate, that there are a lot of spiritual teachers out there who they may be doing some things that are really good, but if someone is in their ego, then it's like anything. They can be like any human. They're going to have parts about them that are maybe not looking out for your highest and best. And so like, that's why the living in your heart gives you discernment. The heart feels truth. That's why we don't want to be fully open like that unless we are in our heart. Like, unless we have the ability to discern the truth by feeling what feels, you'll feel it. Like, oh, it's almost the way you know is, does it feel like something you somehow already knew? And that's what the truth is. But it's just like with channels, is that it has to come through the channel. If the channel isn't clear, the information is going to carry the ego of the channeler. And it's the same thing with spiritual teachers. If they are in their ego, they may do some things that are really good. Like there may be people, spiritual teachers out there who are in their ego, who help a lot of people get interested and start their journey and get on the path. Right. And that may be what happened to you. It may be that it got you down a path, but then got to a place where it became really toxic, you know, and that can happen where if someone is in their ego and that can happen if they start really getting in love with the idea of being important or having control over other people. And that's a whole lesson in and of itself. Right. But yeah, being in the heart is how we navigate that, and to understand that everybody has something of value to bring. You know, just because someone is flawed doesn't mean that their teachings aren't relevant. It's just that we have to read the teachings or listen to the teachings with our discernment and take what's good and leave the rest. Yeah. Feel our way through life so that we can navigate the craziness that is humanity. Yeah. Let's see, or the truth, my way to live life is the only good way and there's no other way. And even if there was, I wouldn't, and you would choose that one, I would turn away from you and not love you. Yeah, that's brutal. That's tough. That's tough stuff for sure. And that is someone who's definitely seeking power and seeking control, and yeah, not good stuff. Diane says, goosebumps, absolutely, from the message. Yeah, I do love the double meanings. I noticed that to be true in my dreams too. Super cool. Yeah, for sure. And dreams love to do that. They love to be, what do you say when you use a word and it means something? I can't, anyways, I'm blanking on the name of that. When you use a word and it means something else. Don says, preach, angels. How's that a motivation for for a motivational speech? My heart is pounding. I know, right? From this message, I felt the same way, Don. Totally. Hey there, Kristen. She says, beautiful. Thank you. You're so welcome. Martha's an amazing message. Yeah. Trisha says, I look forward to these messages so much. Thank you. Thanks, Trisha. Thank you so much. I really do too. Love this message, says Donna. Shine, shine, shine our light. Self-love, love everything. Simple, right? Ha ha. I know. I know. Yeah, they do ask a lot of us, but only because we're up to it. They said a bunch of times, we are built for this. We're built for this in this life. We're meant, like, we are capable. We can do this. Yeah, Meredith says, yes, I learned a whole lot from him. Thank you for the perspective. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing what your experience is. Patty says, so much wisdom here. Thank you. This will take a while to integrate. So grateful for you and the angels. Thank you, Patty. Martha says, great to look at the person that wounded you, the person who drew the short straw. Yeah, yeah, I really see it that way. Because it is hard to live with knowing you did something wrong or you hurt people. That's hard to live with. Yeah. There it is. Sherry says, we have all been wounded for the wounder for someone, not just the wounded by another. Somewhere out there, we are the villain in someone's story, even if it was just one moment, one day when we weren't our best self. Isn't that the truth? And it's been interesting, like as a mom, like I've got 2 kids, you guys know. And I know, like our kids, we can try our hardest to be the very best parent that we could possibly be, and we are going to wound the heck out of our kids. And that's the contract that we made with them. And I know, for example, with my kids, that when my son was born, I was 100% in my head. My heart was closed, and I was in my head, and I was terrified. Like I had no experience with children. Like I'd been the youngest child, had not had any. I don't think I'd even held an infant, like before having my child. And so I think maybe I had like practice changing diapers on the diaper dolls at in the like parenting class. And like, that was it. I had no experience and I was terrified and I was so worried about doing a good job. I had read all the books and all the stuff and I was so in my head, and that was all he felt. He didn't feel love from me when he was born. He felt my fear and he felt me being in my head. And I remember the first night in the hospital, they had him in a little bassinet next to me. And I was like, he's good over there. Like, he's fine. Like, let him be over there. Cause I am terrified that I'm going to somehow do something wrong. And the nurse came in and took his temperature and said, like, he's cold. He needs to be in the bed with you. And I did not, I was so worried I was going to squish him. I thought there was no way, if this tiny little person sleeps next to me, that I'm not going to roll over and suffocate him or smother him. I was terrified. And sure enough, like now he's a grown up and he shares his dreams and I see all that. And he had to heal all that. He had to heal the way I wounded him. And it was incredibly helpful for me to see it in his dreams and be able to sit down with him and say, here's what happened. And here's what was going on in my head. And here's why I behaved that way. And here's like how I learned and how I changed. And this is what you felt. And I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? And to be able to talk about it in that way was so healing for both of us. And yeah, in his dreams, he's healed it now. Like it doesn't show up anymore, but it was there and I saw it and it was from me. And you know what I mean? And despite my very best efforts, like boy, was I trying hard. And that's the problem. I was trying so dang hard. I was not riding the wave. I was in my head trying to navigate being a parent, which would be a heart thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, just an amazing experience to navigate that with him together through his healing and how healing it was for both of us. Yeah. You just said the light, this will be the thing you look back on. I had a thought yesterday after listening to last week's message 3 times. Yay, you, Mary Beth. That is the way to integrate it. I love it. It's true with the angel stuff. Repetition is the key. The more we do it, the more energy sinks in. And that's the truth with all their healings, with peace bathing. The more you do it, the better it is. I was wondering if maybe the light will come after the 3 days of darkness to bring the light back. Great question. There have been a lot of people talking about the flash of light. Like, would it be, some people have suggested that the period of twofold remembrance, that it could be Easter, like Good Friday and Easter. That certainly makes sense. I wish it was, I think it's going to be one of those things that we look back on and be like, oh yeah, of course it was that. We don't know it until it happens. I don't know. But it would be cool if it was, it could be the flash of light that creates the darkness. It could be that it comes after the darkness. I don't know. And they haven't given me more clues. Okay, here's the thing. I am going down to, Los Angeles. I'm traveling over, period of the Easter. Like so I'm going to be down there in the middle of all of it. And I was concerned because people are like, maybe it's Easter and I'm traveling during that. Like I could be up on a plane and 3 days of darkness and you know what I mean? Like who knows? And so I asked and they were like, nope, you're going to be fine. So that tells me something. So I don't know. So for any of you that are worrying about it, I don't know, but I know that it's safe for me to travel. And I'm going to LA, which is like a place where like, if, you know, it's like, you don't want to be there in a blackout for 3 days. So yeah, so I don't know, but that's one more little piece of info to add to your roster, if that's at all helpful. Yeah. I will be curious to see how it unfolds. I would like to know too, but they have not told me. Diane says, honestly, knowing that we chose these experiences for soul growth makes it so much easier to accept it, recognize the growth, forgive our abuser, and move forward to help others do the same. Yes, I so agree. So agree. Pun is the word. Thank you, Dashini. Pun is the word I was trying to say. Thank you very much. Yeah, where a word that means two things. Thank you. Kirsten is learning unconditional love. It really is. Yeah, absolutely. And double entendre. Yeah, that's another way. So the double entendre is one, and then the pun is like, yeah, so the pun includes it's like a little funny, which is awesome. But, and then Andrea says, I'm so glad I'm able to be here live today. Me too, Andrea. Thank you for joining us. Euphemism. That's a good one too. Yeah. The pun though implies like, cause dreams and angels are funny and like they enjoy humor. Their humor is really dry because they take everything very literally, but they like to be funny. But laughter is the frequency of healing. So like angels are all about, that's like, they love being funny. And, but it's also hilarious to me that they will take what you say 100% literally. So know that when you talk to the angels, they will hear you exactly think about what you're saying before you say it, because they will take it 100% literally. And then Patty says, a little worried about traveling to Thailand, April 6th to the 27th. And, you know, my thought is on that is like, it has been like, the thing I have learned is that we have to just live our lives. Like, we don't know when these events are going to happen, and we just have to trust that we're going to be okay. And we have to live our life the way we're meant to be. And if you are in Thailand when something crazy happens, then you were meant to be in Thailand when that happens. And maybe you're going to be somehow in service, or who knows, but most likely not. That it's, you're most likely going to get home just fine. But we can't know, and we are not meant, like the angels have told us many, many times, that we're meant to continue to invest in our lives, continue to invest as though tomorrow's going to be like today, that we're meant to continue to move forward. So even though everybody's like, hey, is it 3 days of darkness going to be Easter? I went ahead and booked my trip because that was the best dates. That's when it worked out. Like that was the time I was meant to go. So we just got to live our life and live life as though, and continue to put energy towards the things you want to create, because otherwise we're going to spend our whole life waiting for the shoe to drop. And that is not a way to live. Yeah. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. Phenomenal message today. Thank you for holding the energy for it. I felt a ton of energy coming through for all of us as we were sharing this together. So that was just incredibly fun. Sending you guys lots of love. And don't forget, Peace Bathing members. Peace Bathing is Sunday, so I will see you there. And have a great weekend. Bye, you guys.